In this session, I would like to discuss what is scope and lifetime of a variable. First, let me start with scope. Okay, so first learn scope, after that lifetime, after that we'll see the difference between scope and lifetime. Let me begin with scope of a variable. First, I define scope in a general sense, like I don't assume any programming language. In any programming language, scope is nothing but the accessing of a variable. Can we access a variable is a question. Okay, so scope is nothing but area of the program where a variable can be referred. Okay, so that is the definition of scope. Example, this is your program and you have already, let's say, variable x, somewhere you defined it. Now the question, can we access the variable x with the name? If the answer is yes, then we say that this variable has a scope. Now if you cannot access a variable in this area, so it depends on the rules. Like a programming language has rules to specify that a variable can be used or not. If a variable x, the name of the x, if you cannot use here, then we say that this variable x doesn't have scope here. Okay, so finally scope is nothing but area of the program where it can be referred. Understand? So the scope of the variable is depends on the programming language. Okay, so various programming languages has different rules for identifying the scope. Let's understand the scope of a variable in C programming, because in GATE exam we have only programming C programming, right? That's why let me explain you scope of a variable in C programming. To understand scope of a variable in C programming, first you should understand various kinds of variables. We have two kinds of variables. One is internal variable, second one external variable. Okay, so first we see the motivation behind using external and internal variables. Ask yourself why we use internal variables and ask yourself why we use external variables in C programming language. Okay, so before that I will show you how to define external variable. You know external variable, right? It's global variable. And internal variable is nothing but local variable. Generally, I ask you to understand the purpose of local variables and global variables. Okay, first we'll see the purpose of local variable. Local variable's purpose is to use it in some function. Example, C programming is a functional programming language, right, where we write lot of functions. And in a function, if you define any variable, that is called local variable. And I am asking the purpose of declaring otherwise defining local variable. So whenever I ask a question, stop the video, you know that, right? And ask yourself that question. After that, continue the video. Okay. Now, so the local variable's purpose is to do some computation. Maybe every function for me in high level, it's a computation. You are doing some computation where to do some computation you need some intermediate variables, like where you want to store some temporary stuff, like some temporary data. Okay, once this function is over, like once function's execution is over, you don't want that variables, you don't want to carry that variables with you. Okay, there is no purpose for it. Then I want to discard them once this function is executed. That is what my real world purpose. I'm not talking about rules. I'm talking about the reasons, the purpose of variables. Okay, so we are discussing purpose of local variables. Example, in my real world example, I'm writing one exam. Okay, writing an exam is a function. Okay, to write an exam, what are the things you need? Maybe you need some exam paper, right? Exam paper is a variable, I can say. And you need a rough paper, right? So this rough paper, let's talk about this rough paper where you do lot of calculations. Now once this exam is over, this rough paper is going to be discarded, right? You discard it. You don't carry that rough paper along with you, for your lifetime, right? So that's why whenever you execute this exam function, then this rough paper is needed. After that you don't require. Such kind of things in our life are temporary for us. We discard them immediately and we don't want to hold them forever, right? So we throw them in dustbin. Understand? So such things in programming language are called local variables. You understand? Whenever you have that kind of stuff, then declare them as local variables. Okay, and Whenever you declare some variable as local variable, then you don't use it once function is executed, and you never need it. Understand? So the need of int x is only from start of the function to end of the function. You don't want after that. Then only declare such variables as internal variables. Now what's the purpose of external variables? There are some things like you want to do some stuff so that whatever you do it, that you want to hold it forever maybe. Okay, let's come to first real world. After that we'll go to programming. In real world example, let's say you have written an exam. Then after writing the exam, after some time you get progress report, otherwise some certificate that you passed that exam. Maybe this exam is your GATE exam. Okay, whenever you write this GATE exam, you are going to get a scorecard. Understand? Then this scorecard is a variable where this scorecard gets your rank, isn't it? Now the question is, once you see that scorecard, like do you want to let's say you got all India first rank, then do you want to carry that with you? Otherwise you want to simply see that rank and you want to discard it. Otherwise it is your certificate, like engineering certificate. What do you do with that? You are going to hold it forever. Okay, such kind of things are called, you want to have it for permanent, right? Same way, let's come to programming. In programming there are some variables which you want to hold forever till your program execution is completed. Such variables are called external variables. So if you understand the purpose of a variable, probably you can understand scope in a better way. That's why I'm explaining you the reason of local variable and the reason, otherwise the purpose of global variables. Understand? Now you know the reason of local variable and global variable, then you can understand scope. Okay. So now come back to scope. Scope of a variable in C programming is nothing but area of the program where you want to refer. Understand? Now come back to local variables. So any local variable we define in a function, isn't it? So this is an example of local variable. You know the purpose of local variable, then you ask yourself, what should be the scope of? Now let's say you are a language designer, you are a C programming language designer, then what you do with this x? Like what is the area of the program you expect this x to be referred? Since it is a temporary variable, you want it to be temporary, so that your programming will be good, right? That means this variable is local variable, you don't want to use it after the completion of this function. Then what is the purpose of referring it after this function's execution? Understand, it's like a rough paper. We never want to refer that rough paper after exam is completed. Then such variable scope should be from here, this point, start of the function to end of the function. That means only in this area probably you need that x. That's why scope of, from now onwards, any variable which is local variable, scope of that variable is definitely from the point where it is created to end of the function. Correct? And one more thing you remember, so in C program we write like blocks like this. Okay, like this. Example, your variable is defined here. Maybe you can define same variable here also. Okay, you should be careful. So this is called blocked programming generally. Okay, we are writing blocks. Now C programming is like a blocked programming. It's not completely blocked programming, because I will tell you the reason. First of all, let's say in C programming, this kind of braces are allowed, like nested braces. Like you can nest one set of braces in another set. Then you can define a variable x 2 times in one block here, and after that in nested block again. When you do that, my question is, so whenever I refer x here, which variable will be referred? Obvious, right? So this variable will be referred. When you refer a variable here, then are we in this block? No, right? Then this variable will be referred. Okay, so this is all called scope rules. Okay, in C programming, you remember, whenever a variable is defined, okay, and after that if you open one more brace and if you create a new block inside a block, then this variable will be hidden. Generally, what is the scope of a any variable? From the start of the definition to end of the block, right? So this is the block where this variable is created. Generally, up to the end of the block, generally the scope will exist. That is what we learned. Now when you have multiple blocks like this, you should understand what is the scope of a variable. Example you see. So you have a block, on that again you have a block, okay, and you have same variable name. Understand? Then what happens we'll see. So this variable x, according to the scope rules, x will be, x will have a scope from here to only this point. Okay. After that, this variable comes into the picture. That means, so now this variable will get a scope. Okay, up to here to here. Then again, here to here you can use this variable x. Understand? Now we say that in this area, this outer variable cannot be referred. Okay, then we say that this variable is hiding this variable. Apart from that, if there is no such variable x here, then the scope of this variable is perfect as we defined from the point where it is created to end of the block. See, this is the block where your variable x is created, right? That's why the scope of this variable is up to this point, unless one more variable which is nested inside. Understand? When you have another variable with same name, then this variable will be hidden in this point. That means let's denote this by outer x. Okay, this is inner x. So inner x hides outer x from this point to this point. So if you know this concept, then easily you can understand scope of a variable. Okay, you understand the core idea of scope of a local variable, correct? So let's see with some examples. Example, you have a main program like this, and you have a variable int x, then int x, then close it. Okay, now the scope of this variable x, because we know the rule now, because we know the purpose of int x is because you started here and you want to use it in this entire function. That's why scope of this local variable is from the beginning of this definition to end of the block where it is defined. This is the start of the block where it is defined to end of the block. So this is the end of the block generally. Okay, so that's a purpose, and even the rule also states same that. Second thing, since you have created one more local variable x, there are two local variables and you have a purpose, that's why you created, right? So whenever you have created the local variable in this block, then your purpose probably you want to use this variable from here to here. That's why even the general scope rule says same thing. That's why try to understand the connection. Whatever we want, that is the way rules works. Okay, that's why now easily I can say that the scope rule should be such a way that so the scope of this x will be from now onwards where it is defined to end of the block where it is closed. Understand? Now after that, when you come to this point, then this variable's scope will be exist. Okay, that's why whenever you use x here, definitely this variable will be referred, because this variable x has a scope from here to end of the block where it is defined. Okay, now let's summarize. The summary is any local variable scope is from the definition from the point of the definition to end of the block where it is defined, unless it is hidden. That's it. Okay, now what is the scope of this variable? From the definition to end of the block where it is defined. That's why here to here. Scope of variable of this is here to here. Scope of this variable is from definition to here. After that it will be hidden. After that again it will be visible from here to here. So this is about scope of a local variable. Now we'll see some of the keywords, otherwise modifiers. Okay, so we can use local variable with these modifiers. Example, when you have a local variable x, then we can say register local variable, that means register int x. Otherwise you can use static int x. Okay, generally whenever I use register int x, static int x, still the local variable, still it will be local variable only. Okay, if it is already local variable, if I add register as statics, that the definition of local variable will not be changed. Still they are also called local variables. Okay, and remember one more thing, this register modifier you can use only with local variables. Okay, you can't use it with global variable. I will tell you the reason. Okay, now remember it. Second thing, you can also use static modifier in front of local variable like static intex. Then that local variable will become static local variable. So the purpose of static local variable I will tell you. But scope is same. Okay, so I want to decide that register, if you use register intex, otherwise static intex, the scope is same. But we'll see what is the purpose of using register and static keywords in front of that definitions. Okay, we'll see. This is called declaration. Okay, we are declaring that integer x is register kind of variable, and we are declaring that int x is static variable. Okay, so we'll see the purpose of everything one by one. First, let's begin with the purpose of register declaration. Why we declare a variable as register? Whenever I declare a variable as a register, then you are saying that that variable is very important for you. Example, you have a variable x in your programming, and already I told you the limitation of this register keyword is only to local variables. We can't use it for global variables. Okay, now if you do that, then what happens is we are agreeing that means you are indicating that this x is very important for you. You are going to use it very frequently in your programming language, so that you want to access it in a very fast way. Okay, then so how machine can help you, I will tell you. This is your machine. So your machine has memory, you know that, right? So one is main memory, second one secondary memory. These are all the different kinds of memories. So what is secondary memory? Hard disk, you know that. Apart from that, we have cache memory, of course, and you have registers. Okay, CPU registers. These are all the things, CPU registers. So cache memory, main memory, generally we use to store the variable, right? Secondary memory also we use, but generally whenever we are executing the program, all your variables will be stored in main memory and cache memory. Now we can store your variables in CPU registers also. Then when you store a variable in CPU register, then its access will be fastest among all. So whenever your variable is very frequent, like we are using it very frequent, then better you keep that in CPU registers, so that definitely the access time will be reduced. Okay, that's why whenever you have such variables which are local variables, then please declare them as register variables. Okay, then that will become a register variable. Whenever you have a register variable, your compiler will try to keep them in CPU registers. Okay, but remember one thing, it is not compulsory, because CPU registers are very limited, right? There are maybe 32 or 64 or 256, depends on the machine architecture. This number vary, of course, but let's say you have, let's say, some 64 CPU registers. And if your program want to keep all its variables in registers, is it possible? No, right? And there are very important applications maybe in your program, in your computer, like at this moment operating system is also running. Obviously every time operating system runs, right? Then what I want to say is, currently your machine has some OS programs and some very important programs and your program. Whenever your program asks for registers, at that time registers may not be available. At that time your compiler might not give. That's why compiler takes this instruction as just advice. Okay, your compiler may give, may not give the register. If your compiler doesn't give register to you, then your variable, though it is a register variable, that will be stored in main memory. Understand? And one more thing. So whenever you declare a variable as register variable, don't try to get the address of it. The reason, only main memory addresses you can get, right? Now whenever you declare your variable as register index, there are two things. One is possibility number one is your x may get register, right? CPU register. Case number two, your variable may get main memory, right? So that's why whenever you declare a variable register int x, then you cannot ask for address of x. That means you should not write an instruction in C programming which asks for address. That means don't write address of x, because if your variable is stored in register, then that is not appropriate to take the address, right? Only main memory addresses we can take. Understand? That's why, so whenever a variable is register variable, we should not ask for address. So it gives error. Register variables address cannot be displayed. Understand? So that is the important point of register variables. So let me summarize. Register variables can be used for faster access, but it's only advice. Your compiler may not keep your register variable in register exactly. Second thing, you can't ask address of a register variable since they are not always stored in main memory. They are not always stored in register. That's why their address cannot be asked. Understand? It's a rule. Let's talk about static variables. Either we can use this declaration static for local variables or global variables. Let's begin with static local variables. We know that there are two kinds of variables, local and global. So a local variable also can be static. Global variable also can be declared as static. So that means we have static local variables and static global variables. First we understand the purpose of static local variable. Okay, so static local variables purpose is, I have a function and we know that all the local variables are temporary generally, right? We want to use them temporarily. After function is closed, we don't want them. That is what general motivation behind local variable. But static local variable is a variable which we want after the execution of function also. That means we want to use it again and again through across the invocation of this function. That means, example, this is exam, otherwise library. Come to real world. Library is a function where you write a book, read a book. Okay, in this scenario, so we want to remember, we need a marker, right? That means, example, you are reading a book. Let's say every day you read because of your availability of time. So you read one page every day. That is what this library method does. Okay. Now this book, when you execute library, so you are reading first page. Second time, whenever you execute this library method, you want to read second page. Next time, third page. Understand? So you need a variable. Okay. So that's the purpose of that variable is to remember the previous state. Otherwise, that is I can say marker. You want to use one variable as marker. So marker, when you execute library first time, it should show 1, second time it should show 2, third time it should show 3. In that way it should be incremented every time and it should remember the previous value. Understand? But generally what is simple, otherwise if you don't write static, that variable is called automatic. Okay, so let's add one more keyword called automatic. If you don't mention anything, if you define any variable, that kind of local variables are called automatic. Okay, default is automatic if you don't write anything. Otherwise, if you write auto, both are same, they are called automatic variables. The purpose of automatic variable is once function is over, there is no work for it. But see the difference here. What is the difference between marker and x? So that int x doesn't have any purpose after the execution of a function, but this marker has a purpose. What is that purpose? So every time it should remember the previous page what you read, right? Then such variables can be declared as static variables. Some students ask this question, really you have that purpose, then why don't you declare that variable as global, so that you know that global variables value will be permanent, right? We can access it anytime. What's the difference between global, that means external variable, and static local variable? What's the difference? I don't see any difference, some people say. The difference is, I want to use this marker only in this library. That means there is no purpose. If I keep marker as global variable, then there is a chance that others can modify it. I don't want it. You know the purpose of local variable. Why we use local variables? So that we can encapsulate, otherwise we can hide some details, right? So no one should use my marker outside this function. Okay, that's why I am declaring marker as local variable. If I declare marker as global variable, so there is a chance that others might use it in a wrong way. They might spoil my marker. I don't want to allow it. Whenever you want to hide some of the details, generally we keep them in special methods, like in library I keep marker. If I keep outside, that will be spoiled by some other parts of the program. I don't want to have it. Second one, if I keep all the variables global, not local, then your program, understanding your program will be, the behavior of program will be very difficult. Imagine this program. Example, you have a program. In that program you have, let's say, function 1, function 2, function 3, very big program. Okay, and there are hundreds of global variables. There is no local variable. Then what happens? Everyone will communicate through these global variables, right? If it happens, let's say everyone uses these global variables, then you can't understand the program's behavior easily, because whenever you are executing F2, then we can't understand the function F2 clearly. The reason, it is having lot of global variables. We don't know what is the value of global variable it is referring, right? Example F2, it's a very big code. In that it uses variable x, y, z. The meaning of this function depends on x, y, z. But what is x value, y value, z value is highly unpredictable, because even some other parts of the function like F1, F3 also modifying them, right? Then defining or understanding F2 will be quite difficult, because its behavior depends on how F1 behaves, how F3 behaves. That's why you should be very careful. That's why people generally write programs such a way that they don't depend much on global variables, okay, unless it is highly important. So what if I write a program without global variables? How happy it will be, you see. Example, I have a function and I am writing it with only local variables, let's say x, y, z. Then I can easily understand the purpose of x, y, z, because I know very well what is x, what is y, what is z, and no one other than this function is modifying them. Then this function can clearly tell what it is doing. Whereas if x, y, z are global variables, then function f cannot be clearly, we can't understand it clearly, because its behavior is depending on x, y, z, but x, y, z are depending on other functions. That's why people use global variables and local variables. Then why we use global variable? I will tell you. So you understand that local variables are very important. Example, you have function 1, function 2, function 3. In that way, let's say there are 4 functions, okay. Now function 1 is using a variable x. Example, function 1 wants a variable x, function 2 also wants variable x, everyone wants variable x, okay. And one more thing, whenever function 1 modifies x, F2, F3, F4 want to see it. Really they have a purpose. Understand my point? F1, F2, F3, F4 really want to share a variable x. I will tell you one example. Let's say this is stack, okay. Now in a stack, there is a method called push method, there is a method called pop method, there is a method called, let's say, eStack full and eStack empty. So these are all the methods. They all want to use a variable called top, okay. They all work based on top variable, like, okay. So if top is at highest, then it will be stack full. We'll see that things later on, okay. Try to understand very important thing here. So top is a variable, everybody want to use it. Example, whenever you push a value, then top should be incremented, but this F2, that means a pop method, eStack full and empty, everyone should know whenever x is top is updated. Understand my point? So whenever some method updates top, others also should know. What if I create top as local variables? Local variable, what happens, we'll see. Then it will be difficult. Whenever this local variable is modified, all the local variables should be modified, but that won't happen, right? Because that is not the way language is defined. So the purpose of local variable is whenever you create a local variable, when it is modified, others cannot know, right? That's why, see now, everyone want to see that result. That means whenever top is modified, everyone want to know it. That's why better such variables you declare as global variable, so that whenever someone updates it, everyone will know it. Such variable should be global variable. Sometimes we want them, but when you have lot of, if you make everything as global, then your program will be, highly ununderstandable. That means you can understand it clearly. When understand the purpose now, whenever you really need a global variable like top, declare them, but don't make every variable global, because sometimes some variable should be local, right? Because if you make them global, then probably others can modify it, then so you can't understand the program clearly, okay. So depends on the purpose, you create local variables and global variables. You want to share any variable across the functions, use global variable. You want to hide some variable and you want to use only in one particular method, and others should not see some variable, let's say, create it as a local variable. That's why we have equal importance for global variables and local variables. Okay, so that's why we have to use sometimes local variables, sometimes global variables. Come back to our static variable, right? So we are talking about static local variable. What's the purpose of static local variable? We know that sometimes local variables are important, right? So local variable purpose to use it only within a function. Example, there is a library function. You want to use a variable called marker and you want to keep it as a local because others should not modify it, right? That's why it should be local only. But this marker variable, like, it should remember the page number. Example, when you come to library first time. So whenever you come to library first time, that is called executing the library first time. And coming to library second time is nothing but calling library second time in that way. Okay. Example, you came to library 10 times. Then for that you have to execute library function 10 times. Okay. First time marker should show number 0 because you are reading the page number 0. Second time marker should show page number 1, page number 2, so on. That means you want to have this variable such a way that it should remember the value across the function executions. Generally, when you declare a variable auto, then once function is over, marker will be discarded because that is the way auto variables are defined. Understand? So that's why. But you don't want that behavior, then use a keyword called static. Otherwise, I can say use a declaration called static. Whenever you declare a variable as static, then its value will be maintained across the execution of function. Okay, we'll see the relation between, a difference between static local variable and automatic local variable with one example. Okay, so that you can understand it very clearly. Let's understand the difference between static local variable and automatic local variable. Okay, so with example. So in a main program, I have called function f 2 times. Then what will be the output if the variable is automatic local variable? Sir, but you did not mention that it is automatic. The default is automatic. If you want to mention it, like, so that everyone can understand, you have to write auto. If you don't write auto also, default is auto. Now that is automatic local variable. What happens, we'll see. So first, that program begins at main, then this f will be executed. Because of that, control comes here, and first line is a local variable auto will be created. What is that name? Marker, and it is initialized to 0. Then marker plus plus, then marker will be incremented by 1. Then after that we print marker. Then what will be printed? 1 will be printed. After that, program will be, function f will be terminated. When function f is terminated, so now recall the purpose of local variable. The purpose of automatic local variable is once method is over, you don't want this variable. Such a way language also defined. Whatever you want, language is also defined in the same way. Okay, that's why this marker will be discarded. We'll see more details in lifetime. At this moment, you remember that marker variable will be discarded. You can't. That means you can't use this memory of marker at no more. Okay, you can't use it. Then once marker is printed, control goes to this f. Then again we'll come back to void f method. Then in that, first step is again marker is created. Okay, so if you remember one important point here, automatic local variables are created again and again whenever you come back to function. Okay, for every function execution, a new marker will be created. Okay, such a way, automatic variables are defined and they have such purpose. Then marker will be 0, then marker plus plus will become 1. Then again, if you print, 1 will be printed. Okay, so this is the usage, otherwise the way the program will be executed. Second one, if I add static here, what happens, we'll see. Okay, the purpose of static local variable is to retain the marker variable's value across the function. Okay, such a way, so even language supports, we'll see. First, let's execute this program with static variable. Then first time when f is executed, control comes here and static variable is created like ordinary variable int x, and x value will be initialized to 0. Then marker plus plus, then, so sorry, it is x, marker, right? Let me write marker, not x. then marker is 0, then marker will be incremented by 1, then print marker 1 will be printed. After that function will be closed. When function is closed, this variable is not discarded, though it is local variable, okay, because you have written static. That is what the usage of static. What happens is this variable will be somehow maintained permanently. That means it will not be discarded. So still static variable is associated with memory location and its value currently 1. Go back to F, and when you come back, okay, then what happens? This line should be executed, isn't it? That is the way we have written a program. But second time when you come to function execution, this line will be skipped. Why? Think about it first. That's why every time understand the purpose of something, anything, okay. The purpose of static local variable is to retain the value across the functions, and if you initialize it again, then can we remember it, the previous value? We can't remember. To remember it, definitely this line should not be executed second time. That's why the rule is created like this in C programming. You know, whenever a variable is static, that static variable is only initialized once, okay. That's why second time static variable, this statement will be skipped second time. That's why this is first time, this is second time. Second time it will not be executed, directly will come to marker plus plus, then this will become 2, and marker, whenever you print, 2 will be printed. So such a way, so static local variables and automatic local variables behave differently, okay. So finally we have understand what is static local variable, what is automatic local variable, what is register variable. But remember one thing, every variable, like whether it is register local variable or static or automatic, every variable has same scope. What is that scope? From the beginning of the definition to end of the block where it is, you know, defined. That's it. That is about scope of a local variable. Let's talk about global variables. Global variable is a variable which is generally used for, you know, communication across the functions, okay. So that's why I declare that global variable not in any function, okay. Example, I declare global variable like this. So how to find out whether a variable is global or not? Very simple. If it is not surrounded by braces, then that is global variable. That means it is not enclosed in any block. Example, this is one block, okay, this is one block. If I surround any variable in a block, that will become local variable, okay. So this x is a local variable here. Now this x is a global variable. Understand? Now can we define global variable and local variable at a time? Yes, because we know that the scope of this local variable only here to here, and the scope of this local variable is here to here. Now still we can define one more variable x, which has a global, okay. The purpose of global variable is to, you know, communicate, otherwise, you know, to use it for communication across the functions. Like f and g want to communicate something through some variable, then probably global variable will be helpful here. Now such global variable scope is dash. Since you understand the purpose that all the functions of this program want to use that variable x, then the scope of that variable, which is global variable, should be from the point where it is created generally to end of the program, right? Then only we can use that for the purpose, right? Then only purpose will be served, okay. Now but what if already there is a variable x in which is local? That's why again variable, you know that this variable x hides the scope of this x. Generally the scope of this x is from here to here, no doubt on that. But if there is one more variable which is in a function, then probably in that function we have to use x so that this variable will be hidden. Similarly in G, that means from point here to here, then x, this x will be used and this x will be hidden, okay. Apart from that, now apart from this marked areas everywhere, so this variable x has a scope, okay. That is the scope of global variable. In simple words, we say that global variable scope is throughout the program. Still my intention is what? When there is one more variable with the same name in functions anywhere, in that functions definitely this variable will be hidden, okay. You understand that point. Now second thing, Is there any another way of declaring a global variable? Yes, we can use modifiers. Then we can use static keyword to declare a global variable like this, static index. Already I told you that we can't use register. Okay, either you can use simple index, otherwise static index. In that way we can define global variables. So whenever I keep static for a global variable, that means whenever I declare a variable using static, what happens is the scope will be limited to only one file. That means the file where it is created. Okay, so let's tell me let me tell you editing cheskunanu. Okay, let me tell you a situation where people write a program in multiple files. Okay, file 1, file 2, let's say file 3. Imagine the situation. So one program, but we have only one program which is written across multiple files. And in file number 1 we have a main method, just imagination. And file number 2, let's say we have a method f. In file number 3 we have method g. Okay, now so in file number 1, let's say imagine that file number 1 is created by Raju, let's say file 2 by Rani, and file 3 by Rakesh. Okay, now Raju created a variable x. Now Rani and Rakesh also want to use that variable x, and Raju doesn't have any problem. That is the way they want to work. Okay, so Raju is going to create a variable x and others want to use it according to the scope. The question now, this variable has scope in other files or not? Yes, according to the scope rules, whenever you declare a global variable in one file, still the scope is throughout the program. This entire thing is a program. Then when you merge them, like whenever you want to execute this entire program, we definitely merge all these files, right? We link them. Whenever you merge them and execute them, then this will become a complete program. In that program, file 2 is a part. So definitely when you say scope is throughout the program, definitely it is applicable for file number 2 also. That means, so this x can be used by file 2, file 3. But we have to give a provision. That means, we have to explicitly say that we are going to use int x. That's why we have to write extern keyword. Okay, whenever I write extern declaration followed by int x, then definitely you get a permission to use variable x. Okay, already x is allowed to use by other files, but definitely we have to mention extern int x. The reason I will tell you, everything has a reason. The reason is compiler has a dilemma if you don't write like this. Okay, then sometimes user by mistake probably he can write like this. See this situation, user want to create a local variable x, okay, and he want to increment it, but he has forgotten. Okay, now then your compiler has dilemma now. Really user has forgotten, or maybe he want to use this variable x. There are two cases. That's why to avoid that ambiguity, I can say really user want to use this variable x, then he should mention that it is extern int x. That means whenever he declare like this, Rani is aware of the existence of variable x somewhere. Okay, this is not the definition. I will tell you what is definition and declaration. I'm using declaration and definition, right? But I have a clarity. What is definition, what is declaration, I will tell you. Before that, let's say this is declaration, extern int x. Okay, so I will tell you what is definition and declaration here first. Definition versus declaration. Definition is nothing but it is just mentioning the type of a variable. Generally we mention the type of the variable. Okay, so whenever you write this kind of syntax, and definition generally allocates the memory also. Okay, so declaration is just mentioning the type of the variable. Okay, try to understand. When you mention the type of the variable, then if memory also allocated, then that is called definition. Sometimes only type of the variable will be understood, but memory will not be given. Such syntax is called declaration. Example, whenever you write int x, what happens is your compiler understands that x is an integer. and at the same time it allocates memory for you. That's why this is definition. So declaration is like extern index. So now easily we can understand what is declaration. Okay, extern index, here we are not creating a new variable, right? Rani doesn't want to create a variable x, but she want to use this variable x, and she want to claim that x, she is agreeing that there is a variable x somewhere. So that is the meaning of extern index. Then memory will not be allocated here newly, already it is allocated because of this one. It is a definition. This is just declaration which agrees that there is a existence of variable x somewhere. Okay. Now if you do x equal to x plus 1 whatever, then this program will be correct. Okay, you will not get any error. Understand? Similarly, so Rakesh also should specify extern index. Okay. Now sometimes we don't want to, Raju doesn't want to allow others to use variable x, but he wants global variable. Okay. Really Raju doesn't want to allow others to use variable x in another files. He can do one thing. He can make it local variable, but he doesn't want to do that. Ask me why. I will tell you. Because Raju's program is, let's say Raju's file is very big. Let me show Raju's file. In Raju's file, let's say file number 1, there are so many methods. One is main method, function f, function g, let's say function h, so on. So f and g and h, all these functions want to use a common variable. Okay, and if I make let's say there is one variable x everybody want to use, then what we do, we create a global variable, isn't it? If I make it local, then 3 copies we have to create, and we have to maintain the consistency. Like, example, if x is updated here, this x and this x also should be updated. Okay, so such a variable you want. That's why, so when f, g, h want to share one variable, whenever someone updates, others also should see the updated value, then definitely we should go for global variable. But the problem is, what's the problem then? Why don't you make global variable? If I make a variable global, other files also will access. So what? What if other files access? Sometimes you don't want it, because this is your file and you have full control and you understand that this is your variable x and you use it properly. But there are some people, other people are working with you and you don't want to give control to them. Especially you don't want to share your variable to others. Okay, this is the situation. Example, Raju and Rani and Rakesh are writing a same program. They are contributing for same program, but through multiple files. Now though they are part of your program, but there is a chance that they can spoil your variable x, but you don't want it. You want to protect this variable from other files. Okay, but they are part of your program. Then what you do is declare a variable as static index. That is the purpose of static index. Now there are two things. Your global variable can be just index. Second one, static index. Whenever you make static index, then that is called static variable or static external variable. If you don't write this static, then that is called non-static external variable, otherwise just external variable. Okay, there are two kinds of global variables: static global variable, second one non-static. So how to define static global variable? Simply write static. Then what happens? Generally scope of any global variable is throughout the program. If your program is splitted or otherwise distributed across the files, then every file can access your program, your variable, but the condition is everyone should write extern. That is the only thing, but it is allowed. But if you make your variable static index, others cannot access. Okay, example we'll try. So if you declare static index, let's say Raju created a variable static index, then Rani want to use it, x equal to x plus 1 in her program. But before that, what she did is she wrote extern index. Then what happens, we'll see. So while compilation, this is a separate translation unit, right? So this file is a translation unit. Rakesh file also another translation unit. Okay, they are all different translation units. What is translation unit? I will tell you. So translation unit is nothing but it is a independent unit of module where it can be compiled independently. Okay, so that's why Raju's file, Rakesh file, Rani's file can be independently compiled, but while compilation time there will not be any problem. Why? Think about it. Because Rani has written her own set of commands, but only thing she wrote extern intex. At that time your compiler thinks that because the meaning of extern intex is there is a variable x somewhere. Since we know that there are multiple files, then your compiler thinks that, oh, this variable x is somewhere defined. Then whenever you write x equal to x plus 1, it won't give compile time error. Understand? So when a variable is static variable, still people can use extern intex and they can compile it. There will not be any compile time error. But what happens, you see, while execution time, let's say you are executing the program. When executing the program, we merge, all the files, right? File number 1, file number 2, file number 3. At that time, so while execution time, now your compiler realizes that this is a static variable and others are referring that static variable. You understand? Now in F2, there is a extern intex. So while execution time, F2 try to fetch a variable x. Okay, that means your compiler will try to fetch a variable x from F1, but it is defined as static. At that time it gives you runtime error. Okay, so why it is linker error? While compile time you don't get any problem. While linking time, that means whenever you want to execute a program, we'll merge them, right? So the merging process is, let's say, called linking. Okay, so while linking time, your compiler understand that this variable is not at all allowed. That means this variable has a restriction. When your compiler will learn it while linking time, then it gives error at that time. That's why it is a linking time error. Okay, what is that link time error? That linking time error says that, my dear user, you want to use a variable x, but I did not see it. Then you can say that, we are seeing here, no? But you can't say that. The reason, that is static variable. Static variable will be hidden from other files. That's why. So at compile time you don't get any, while compilation time you don't get any error, but while linking time definitely you get error. Understand? So understand there are three phases. One is compiling. When you write a program in multiple files, there is one thing, compilation. Second one, linking. After that, execution. Okay, so at linking time definitely you get an error. Understand? Now you have seen external variables, and especially there are two kinds of external variables. One is static variable, otherwise non-static variable. Static variable is restricted to only file, but non-static global variables are, can be used across the program. If though your program is distributed over multiple files, still that can be accessed, but only thing is we should write an extra instruction called extern intex wherever you want to use it. Okay, now one more use of extern I will tell you. You can have extern declaration when you have one file also. Example, when you have one file, so why this declaration is required, I will tell you. We know that we use it when you have multiple files, right? So in single file also we can use it. When you define a variable somewhere, before that you want to use it. Okay, then if you want to do that, simply declare that extern intex. Now question number 1, in how many places x is defined? One place. Where it is? This one. Then what is this? This is only to say that, Mr. Compiler, I agree that there is a variable x somewhere, maybe in this file or in some other file. So whenever I use x from now onwards, definitely there will be some x, and you try to map that x to the source. That is what. So whenever compiler process this one, then it understands that using x is not a mistake, because user is agreeing that there exists x. Then when you do x equal to x plus 1, then compiler won't give first compile time error. Second, while execution time, definitely your compiler sees this x and it will match this to this one because of the scope rules, right? So using the scope rules, we can use x equal to, this x here, because scope of a variable is nothing but throughout the program, isn't it? So that is the application of extern. Understand? Now we'll see the next concept, that is lifetime of a variable. So we know that there are two kinds of variables. One is internal variable, second one external variable, isn't it? So let's write internal and external, and for everything we'll see one by one. Let's begin with internal variable and its lifetime. The concept of lifetime can be understood like this. That is, lifetime is a time period where your program or your variable is alive. First of all, I will tell you what is alive and dead. Whenever you write a program, I show with one example, a simple program like this, int x, then close it. So whenever you write a program, then that will not be automatically executed. So you know that, right? The phases in execution of the program is like this. First we write a program, we compile it. Once everything is good, then we start executing them. Let's focus on that execution period. Okay, so let's say you are executing, because before that, first of all, one exe file will be created, right? So what is that exe file? Exe file is a file which contains all the executable instructions. Understand? So now when you write a program like this, no one can understand it except you. Then this will be converted to, first of all, it will be compiled. If there is no compile time errors, then this program will be converted to a machine set of instructions, right? That is called machine code, also known as exe file. Now this machine code which corresponds to this one is, generally I can say that it is ready to execute. Now such a program, let's say you have that contains some instructions 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, and we execute one by one. Okay, that is called execution time. Now let's focus on execution time of this program. Okay, so though we execute machine code, but just for simplicity, we assume that we are executing directly this program. And let's say this is 9 o'clock, this is at 10 o'clock, this is at 11 o'clock. In that way we are encountering these instructions. Okay, we know that these are not actual instructions, but for simplicity we are assuming that these are the actual instructions. Then what happens? 9 o'clock program execution begins. 10 o'clock you need a variable x. Then think about this one. First of all, forget about rules. See the purpose of variable x. We need variable x, we know, but at 9 o'clock do we need it? No, right? And after 11 o'clock do we need it? No. That's why whenever you write a program, each variable definitely will get a memory for sure, otherwise we can't store this value 5, right? So what is the time generally you prefer to give a memory to a variable x? Okay, what's the time period? Example here, since you know this program very well, clearly you can say that 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock is the time period where I want this variable to get memory, right? So that's why I can say that the best lifetime of this x should be 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Okay, now that is the concept of lifetime. So lifetime is a concept generally, but here you are expert of your program, that's why you are saying it is 10 to 11. But generally, given a program, I want to put a rules, like I want to put some rules such a way that so I can automatically decide the lifetime of each and every variable in a simpler way. That means I don't want to examine total program. Without examining the total program, by knowing whether variable is internal variable or external variable, based on that I would like to fix some lifetime to each and every variable. Okay, that means lifetime of a variable is nothing but the time period of the program execution time, where your program variable is appropriate. That means you want it. Okay, you don't want it after that maybe, then that is called lifetime. Okay, in one line let me tell you what is lifetime. Lifetime is a time period of your program execution time where your program is your variable is alive. So simple. Okay, now we'll try to understand how this internal variable has a different lifetime and how external variable has a different lifetime. We'll see. For that we should understand the purpose of internal variables, again purpose of external variables. Let's begin with purpose of internal variables. So we know that internal variables can be divided into three parts, right? One is, so you use register internal variable, that means you write register sometimes. Second one, you may write auto, sometimes you write static, isn't it? For every case we'll try. First of all, what if your internal variable is register like this? Register intex. Okay. Second one, what about automatic? Let's say your your variable is automatic variable. Okay. And they are local, that's why they are written in some function. In this scenario, what should be the lifetime? First of all, focus on its purpose. Either register variable or auto variable. The purpose is you want to use from the, only in this function. Once function is over, you don't want it. When you come back to this function again, you don't want to use old values. That is the way they work. Understand? If that is the purpose, you tell me what should be the lifetime of this function, these variables. It's very easy to see now. So since you are only using in this function, not more than that, then I can say that the lifetime of this register intex, otherwise auto into y, or any local variable which is declared as register or auto, should be only up to the function execution time. I can say up to the function execution time. That's it. Done. Now let's focus on static. What if your variable is static? Okay. I'll take one more example to clearly understand what is static variable and what's the motivation of using static. Okay. Already you know that, of course. Let's use that library thing. Okay. So every day you are going to library and you are studying a book where you keep a static marker. Okay, that's initialization is 0. Initially marker is showing 0th page. Then every day whenever you go to library, you are reading one page of that some book which is your favorite book. Once you read it, then you increment marker. Understand? So this is what library method. Now there is a main program. In that main program, let's say library is called 2 times. Okay. Why I am giving this program is only to understand the purpose of static variable. Okay. So we know that static variable's purpose is first time marker should show 0. Second time onwards it should remember the previous values. To remember previous values, definitely this marker should not be killed. Otherwise the marker's memory should not be taken back. Understand? That's why whenever you create a static local variable like this, then whenever it gets first time memory, whenever memory is allocated for it, like the marker, let's say at 9 o'clock. Then after that, we don't know when we'll come back, right? At any time you may need marker. If at any time you need a marker, then you tell me what should be the lifetime of marker. The lifetime of marker should be, C is a very simple language. Okay. Tell me in a simpler way, like what could be the lifetime of this kind of static variable. Then some students argue like this. Sir, if I know like when we are calling that library method, let's say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, after that 11 o'clock, then simply after 11 o'clock you kill it. But for that you have to read the program, right? Without reading the program, just by knowing that it is a static variable, if you have to decide the lifetime generally, so that your language design will be simple. Otherwise, I have to read entire program and I should know when library will be called. It's a very complex thing. When you write a program, when a method, a particular method will be executed is, we don't know unless we execute it. That's why. So let's say don't forget about that execution times. Okay. Otherwise forget about where library, how many times library is invoked. Forget about it. So that's why to make the thing simple, that language designer decided that what they decided is, so at any time people can call library function. That's why we need marker in the worst case probably throughout the program. That's why lifetime of this kind of static variable will be throughout the program execution. Okay. So it's all about timings, right? What is the difference between scope and lifetime? Scope is all about area. Lifetime is all about, execution timings, right? Time. So it's a throughout program execution time. Understand? So this is the difference between, lifetime of static variable and lifetime of, especially I am talking about internal variables. Lifetime of static internal variable and lifetime of register and auto variables. Okay. Now we'll go to external variable. Tell me the purpose of external variable. You are going to use it across the program, right? So again, external variables can be defined in 2 ways. One is declared in 2 ways. One is static external variable. Second one, just external variable, right? Non-static. Okay. So otherwise I can say that non-static. If a variable is static variable, then we are going to use it in only our file, right? Okay. Now non-static variables can be used across the program anywhere. So first we focus on non-static, which is easy. Since your variable can be used anywhere, then better we have to keep it alive. That means the variable, whatever the variable you have, we have to keep it alive throughout the program execution time, because anyone can use it. That's why non-static global variables lifetime is all over the program execution time. Now static variable. So static variables lifetime, so we have to limit it to, however, we have to limit it to our file, I understand, but we don't know, like example, you have program and that file 1, file 2, file 3. You tell me, when you execute your program, at what time file number 1 will be executed, at what time control comes to file number 2, at what time control comes to file number 3. Do you have any guess? No. Correct? This entire thing is a program, right? So we don't have any clue when control comes to file number 1, when control comes to file number 2, when control comes to file number 3. That's why it's a complex thing. So that's why we can't understand when control comes to a particular area. Better we say, so static variables also should be alive throughout the program execution time. The reason we don't know whether, you can't go like this, you can't say that. Some students argue that, sir, why can't we keep lifetime of a static variable as the time period where your particular file where static variable is defined is active? So that we don't know, right? If I, to make things clear, what I do is I say my I don't know, when I execute my program, when file number 1 is executed, or file 2 or file 3, better leave that kind of concept and simply say that your static variable, of course a global variable also, should be alive throughout the program's execution time. So finally what I want to say is external variables lifetime, that's why, should be throughout the program execution time. So simple. Okay, so let's try to understand that scoping rules using some example. Okay, so in this program there are a lot of places where a variable x is defined. Okay, then which variable has scope in which area, we'll see. Let me go to innermost area. Here there is one definition, right? So this is started here and its block is ended here. That means here to here there is one variable which is x, right? So that's why the scope of this variable particular x is up to here. Let me mark it. Now let's go to one more level. So here there is one more variable x which is defined here. Then its corresponding block you have to observe. The corresponding block is here. Okay, so here this variable scope will be closed. So that's why this is the area. So your variable number 2, which is of course x, has a scope. But what about in this place? In this place your variable will be hidden. This x will be hidden, right? Okay, we hide here. Now if I go to one more level, there is a variable x which is global, right? Now its scope starts here up to end of the program. This is the end of the program. Okay, now in that again definitely in this area you can't use it because it already other variables are in use, right? Up to this point you can't use. Okay, so this is about scope, correct? Now with this concept we try to do this program. First of all, control starts at main program, then we come here, x equal to 2, variable is created, then here this variable x gets memory allocation, right? X value 2. So this is the point where your variable gets memory. Next, x equal to x plus 1. Now this is called referring. This is a definition. This is referring. Whenever you refer a variable, which variable should be taken? There are 3 variables, right? 1, 2, 3. So according to the scope rules, definitely. So now still this variable has a scope, not this one, right? This variable is hidden by this variable. That's why this will be taken. The idea about this scoping, whatever we are using, is we are giving importance to the immediate variable, like what is appropriate, like which is nearest to us. Understand, with respect to area, this variable is nearest, that's why we take it. That is a concept. So x equal to 3. Now printf x, 3 will be printed. Now we'll go to next scope, like here a new variable. So x value 7. Whenever you refer again x, what is nearest to you? This one. That will be taken. 7 plus 2 will become 9. Then printf x, then x will print 9. Here 9 will be printed. Then control comes here, then x equal to x plus 2. Whenever you use it, what is nearest to you? The nearest to you is in this block there is no such variable x. Then go to next block where it is, x is defined. This block is, now don't go to this block because this variable scope is only from here to here. Though it is nearest, don't go there because you are not part of this block. You are not enclosed in this block. Okay. So you are enclosed in this block and that block has variable x. Then when you refer here x equal to x plus 2, which one will be referred? This one will be referred. This will become 5. Ask why? Because your block is surrounded by another block which is nothing but this one, which is closest block, I can say. Okay, so this is the closest block on which you are surrounded. Then when I refer a variable x, then this variable will be taken. Okay, then x will be 3 plus 2 5. Now come back here, printf x. Then this printf x is surrounded in which block? Here to here, correct? In this block, is there any variable x? Yes, this one. Then when you print x, then what will be printed? 5 will be printed. So why 9 will not be printed? Because this block is not surrounding this one, and this printf of x is not surrounded by this block. You see, open close, open close. Then you are in a block which is nothing but this block, right? This block. That's why in this block x is nothing but 5. That's why 5 will be printed. Then program will be terminated. If you observe, the global variable x is not at all used by entire program. Okay, so this is about scope rules of C programming. Now what I want to say is, whatever the scope rules you learn, also known as static scoping. Okay, let me define static scoping in a different way. Of course, concept is same, you get same output, everything. So C programming uses static scoping and already you learned it, but I will tell you in a different way so that if you follow that, then easily we can access, otherwise we can map variables to memory. It's all about how to map one name to a memory location. You see, throughout my program execution, what was I doing? I was just mapping. Example, whenever you encounter a variable x, I was trying to map this variable x to some memory location. So which memory location you map is based on the scope rules, right? So let me put it in a different way. So that is nothing but again static scoping. So I explain how to resolve a variable. So this is all about resolving a variable, no doubt. How to resolve a variable in a static scoping? Whenever you encounter a variable, what you do is, first of all, check the immediate block where you are referring a variable. Okay. Example, when you are referring a variable x, first of all go to the immediate block where it is written. In that entire block, search for the definition. If you don't get any definition, then what to do? Then try to go for the next level of surroundings, like there will be sometimes what happens, your block, this is called block, your block where your variable is referred may be surrounded by another block. You search there. What if I don't get there? Continue this process to next block in that way. Okay, so the idea is, search in a block where your variable is referred. If you don't get it, go to the next block. If you don't get it, go to the next block until you reach all the blocks. Sometimes what happens, you reach out all the blocks, like you cover all the blocks, and let's say you don't get that. Then what to do? Then directly go to global variables. Okay, if in global variables, if there is a variable x, okay, so if you get it, then still you can take it. That is the way we resolve the variable. What if that is not there in global variables also? Then you get error. Understand? So this is called static scoping. Okay, so sometimes what happens, example, if you refer a variable x, then that may not be in immediate block, but that may be in next block. Like example, you see this situation. So when you refer variable x, that is not present in this block, but it is there in the next immediate block, then you take it from there, not from global variable. So this set of rules are called static scoping rules. Okay, let me summarize static scoping. Whenever you refer a variable, then search for it. That means search for the definition of that variable in immediate block. If you don't get it, go to the next block where this block is surrounded, and if you don't get it, go to the another block till you reach all the blocks. Okay, if you don't get anywhere, then go to the global variables and take it. That is called static scoping. Okay, so we'll try to use this static scoping idea. Of course, without knowing you are doing the same, don't worry. So whatever I did up to this point is static scoping only, but so we are doing it in a different way, like by perceiving in a different way. Okay, example, you want to know what happens when you do x equal to x plus 2, which variable will be referred. Okay, that is a question. According to static scoping, first of all, see in this block, is there any variables definition? No. Then go to the next block where it is surrounded. Where it is surrounded, so this block is surrounded in this block, right? So this block. In this block, is there any definition? Yes. That's why whenever I do x equal to x plus 2, this memory location will be accessed. Understand? So this is a way easily we can understand static scoping. Okay. Then what is dynamic scoping? Dynamic scoping is different from static scoping. Okay. How it is different is, first of all, I will tell you one language which uses dynamic scoping. Logo is a language which uses dynamic scoping. Okay. There is one more language which is Emac Lisp. Even that too uses dynamic scoping, and static scoping is very popular. That's why very popular languages like Java, C programming and C++, they all use static scoping. That's why you don't know much about this dynamic scoping. So let's talk about dynamic scoping. In dynamic scoping, actually how we refer variable is different from static scoping. How it is referred then? First of all, whenever you encounter a variable x, then go for a definition of that variable in a block. Okay, and if you don't get it, search overall the function. Okay, so in dynamic scoping, first search for a variable. Example, whenever you refer a variable, example, you are referring a variable here. Okay, when you are referring x, first of all, search the occurrence of that variable x or definition of x in throughout the function. Okay, so try to check that in entire function. If you don't get it in this function, then you should not go to next block, that is static scoping. So here what we do is we remember the calling sequence. Example, let's say your program's execution is like this. Initially you are at main to you went to f, let's say f to you went g. Okay, currently you are running your instructions which are part of g function. Okay, and you are referring variable x. This is a context. Okay, from main to f to g already you went while executing the program. Then suddenly you want to refer a variable x which is not there in g. What if it is there in g? Close, take it. If that variable x is not defined in g, then in dynamic scoping, search in previous method from where you came into g. Okay, if you don't get it in f, then go back. So this is called calling sequence. Okay, so your variables resolving depends on the calling sequence. That's why you get different results and surprising results. Okay, so variable will be searched here. If you don't get it, come to f. If you don't get it here, go to main. What if you don't get in main? Every program starts at main and you reached back to main. Then before main, where were you? No, right? We started at main. That is the starting point. If you don't get over there, then search in global variable. Then try to access global variables. Global is, however, last. Understand? So this is called dynamic scoping. I will take one example and explain you dynamic scoping, so easily we can understand it. Okay. Let's see some examples related to static scoping and dynamic scoping. Consider this program. What is the output if you execute by assuming it is static scoping? After that, if you execute under dynamic scoping, okay, program is same. Don't assume that it is a C programming. Okay, let's assume it like a hypothetical program. That means maybe a pseudo syntax. So this is not related to any programming. Ready? Hello. Let's see one program and we try to execute it under dynamic scoping and static scoping. Okay, don't assume about any programming language, assume some programming language X. Okay, now why not I assume it as a C? Because C supports only static scoping. Okay, dynamic scoping is not allowed on C, right? So every programming language follows one scoping rules, right? So C programming uses static scoping. That's why if you assume this programming syntax as C programming, then you get confusion, right? And you ask this question, sir, how C programming allows dynamic scoping? That's why. So don't assume that it's a C programming or anything. It's a general thing, like, you know, it's a hypothetical situation where you have a program and you have to assume some, you know, scoping. Like, what if this program is executed under static scoping set of rules? What happens? We have to see. Okay, now in static scoping, you know the rules of static scoping. What is that? Whenever you want to resolve a variable, search in the block, then next block, in that way go up to all the blocks. If you don't get it, go to the global variables, isn't it? Let's try it. Main program, control starts here. First F, because of that we come here and control comes here, and there is a variable X, then variable X gets memory, X value 5, then again G, because of G control goes here. Now here there is a variable X which is, you know, referred but not defined. That's why, then according to static scoping, we see the immediate block, it's not present. Then try to go to the next level of block, but there is no, this block is not at all surrounded in any block. That means we reached all the blocks, I can say. Then go to global variables and print it. Then print X will be resolved to 10. You know the rules of static scoping, right? If you don't get it in this block and you don't have another block where it is surrounded, then we go for global variables. Then program is not over, right? So once G is over, we'll come back to here, because before that we were at dash here. Go back. Just now F is over, then control comes to G. Now because of G, directly we jump to here and again print X. This time, because static scoping, one thing you remember, because of that rule, when next time if you refer variable X, same variable will be referred, same global variable X. Okay, in static scoping, one variable X, like one statement, always the variable will be attached to only a particular memory location. Like first time X is this one, the next time also X will be same memory. That's why this is X equal to 10. Then output will be 10 comma 10. But that is not the case with dynamic scoping. In dynamic scoping, so the variable will be resolved in different ways, you know, sometimes we'll see. Let's start here, F, because of that will come here, and then int X equal to 5, X will become 5, and because of G will come here, then there is a print X. Now since the variable is not present here, according to dynamic scoping, what to do? Search in entire function, it's not there. Then what to do? Go through the calling sequence. We were at initially main to, we went to F, from F we reached to G, isn't it? Now in G we got this problem. Whenever you get a problem in G, then we try to resolve through a calling sequence. If you don't get variable X in G, go to F. Is there anything like that? Yes. Then that's why X equal to 5 will be printed. Okay. So in dynamic scoping, 5 will be printed first time. Then G will be terminated. Then control comes here. Then F will be over. Then we'll go back to this one and we come back again. Why? Because first, because of F we came here, and after that we went here and we have to go back. Then because of this line, again we have to go back to G. So you know programs executions, right? Then because of G, then again there is X. This time variable will be resolved to dash. Recall dynamic scoping. In dynamic scoping, once we don't get it in a function, then go to calling sequence. This time calling sequence is different. When you reach this point, before that where were you? You were here, right? That means that is a main method. So this is a calling sequence. This time I came from main. So that's why if you don't get variable X in G, then we have to search in main, not in F, because this time this is the calling sequence. In main, do you have any variable X? No. If you don't get here, then search in global variables. Is there any global variable? Yes, x. That will be 10. That's why that will be taken. What if there is no such global variable? Then you get error. Okay, by that time you get error. Okay, but in this problem there is no error. You get 5, 10. What I want to say is dynamic scoping gives you different answers and static scoping gives you different answer, because there, the implementation is different. Understand? Okay, this is about static scoping and dynamic scoping. There is some program, and what is the output of this program is a question. Okay, this is related to scope and lifetime. So if you understand scope and lifetime, then only you can answer it. Okay, so stop the video and read the program and try to execute it, and first of all guess the output. After that, watch my video. Okay, yeah. Now, so there is I'm using integer pointer x, but don't worry, I'm going to explain you integer pointers in next session. But at this moment, I assume that you know the basic pointers. If you don't know basic pointers and their working method, then simply skip this problem, and once you understand pointers, come back and watch this video. Here I am assuming that you know some basics of pointers. Okay, now let me execute this program blindly. Okay, now integer pointer x. So whenever you create a variable like with this definition, memory will be allocated, right? So we know that. So that is x, and this is a pointer especially. That's why the syntax is star x. So x is a pointer to dash integer. Okay, that means now your x is capable of holding one integer address. Okay, but at this moment it contains garbage value because you have not initialized it to anything. Now here you are assigning that x value. That means here you are going to write some address which is nothing but f. That means first you execute this function call. Whatever the return value of that function call, you are going to write in x. What is the return value of this function call? Integer pointer. And this box is capable of what? What is x? X is integer pointer. X is capable of holding integer address. Let's write integer address. And even function also returning integer address. Then that's why this syntax is compatible. That means it is valid. Now, to know the content of x, then we have to execute f first, right? Go to f. Now y equal to 7. New box is created. Y value 7. Then return address of y. What is the address of y? For time being, we assume that the address of this box y is some memory location 200. Okay. So just 200 is our imagination. Understand? Now function will be terminated. Recall lifetime. Lifetime of any local variable. What I told, lifetime of any local variable which is automatic or register. So this is automatic variable, isn't it? Because you have not written static. So such local variables lifetime is only from the point where it is created to end of the function execution, right? So let me give the timeline so that you can understand. 9 o'clock you executed this line. Let's say after that this line 10 o'clock. Then 11 o'clock your control is coming here. And 12 o'clock your control comes here. Then 1 o'clock you are returning and you are going to printf, isn't it? Is it not the way program is executed? Yes. Then if you see what is the lifetime of y, that is very important for understanding the output. Lifetime of this variable y is nothing but the point where it is created. That means at 11 o'clock to, it's a time period, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, right? Then remember it. We are returning address of y. Okay, so address of y is 200. Let's take 200 and go. That is what we are doing now. Then x equal to 200. Return value of f is 200. Okay, now what I want to say is at 1 o'clock there is no life for variable y. Understand? Because lifetime of y is only from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And here you are at 1 o'clock, you are using star x. I will tell you what is star x. Star content of x. What is content of x? Go to simply box of x. Whatever you see, that is content of x. So write it. So whenever there is x, we write value of x, right? What is value of x? 200. Then it will become star 200. So star is nothing but dereferencing operator. Whenever there is a star, that means we are going to, that means we are dereferencing an address. What is that address? 200. So go to 200 and fetch the value. That is the meaning of star. Okay. Whenever I write star address, that means go to this address and fetch the value. Okay, then star 200 is nothing but go to 200 and fetch the value. Go to 200 and fetch the value 7. But be careful, this memory is already deallocated by your compiler because of lifetime. Okay, according to design of the language, this memory location might not present. That's why when you try to print at 1 o'clock, that variable is not available or that memory is not available, then you might not get 7. Then what you get? Some unexpected result. That's why output of this program is unexpected. I will tell you what are the possible unexpected things. Okay, one unexpected thing for all of these things, I will give you one analogy. Okay, so to understand that unexpected results, I will give you one real world example. Okay, let's say you are living in Bangalore. Okay, this is in Bangalore. You are living, and one house you have taken for rent, let's say that is some 2 BHK whatever. Okay, so one flat. On that, let's say you spend 1 month of time. After that you got job in another place, otherwise you got seat in some IIT or something. That's why you want to deallocate this flat. So now you see, for 1 month of time you used it. After that, if you vacate this house, then do that. Then after 1 week of vacation, like after vacating, then go after 1 week and try to access this house. What happens? It is like the same thing you're doing. You have taken a house at 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. That is what you can do. You can't do more than that. And 1 o'clock you are accessing it. It's like taking one house for rent from like for 1 month, like this entire January month. Then in February month again you are accessing it, but already you vacated it. What happens? Think about it. Case number 1. If this house is not taken by anyone, okay, then go and access. Example, there is a fridge here. Okay, in that fridge you kept one cool drink bottle already when in January month, okay, when you vacated. Then in this February month, if you go and fetch it, you get it, your same cool drink. The reason, no one is using this house. Case number 2, that is case number 1. Okay, case number 1, you get all the things what you kept. Case number 2, what if this house is taken by your friend, otherwise relative? Case number 2, so your friend or relative is using it, maybe your close relative. Then what happens? When you go and open that house and if you access, no one will say anything, right? But if you open that fridge, your cool drink might not appear, right? Maybe their kids may have drank it, otherwise anything can happen. Okay, that may be discarded by the relatives. So finally, when you open this fridge and if you access that data, then you may get your cool drink or other cool drink. That is the second case. Okay, case number 3, let's say this house is taken by some sub-inspector or police. Okay, so in January month you vacated it, remember, and February month you are accessing it. Then if that is already taken by some stranger who is the police, then what happens? So definitely, and especially if you, let's say, imagine you are visiting it at midnight, then what happens is, then they will assume you like maybe a stranger, otherwise they will assume you like a thief, and they can do anything and they will keep you in jail, right? So that is the case number 3. You will be landing in jail rather than IIT. Okay, so there are 3 cases. In the same way, when this program is executed, 3 things will happen. Let's relate this thing to this problem. Case number 1, if no one is taken, that means the memory which you deallocated is not taken by anyone. It happens. Okay, still it is there with your compiler. Okay, so then what happens when you access it and if you print it, then you get old value like 7. Case number 1. Case number 2, the deallocated memory is taken by your other part of the program, same program, okay, but another variable is taken and it might modify. Example, there is one more variable in your program, maybe in another function, then your memory variable this 200 is given to variable z, and there that variable z modified it to 9 or 10, anything. Then you get 9 when you print it. Now case number 3, like police thing. What is police thing here? Where that memory is taken by another program. You remember one thing, On top of you there is operating system. Operating system protects your programs. That means if you try to access the memory, now this time this is a different program, right? Another program's variable, let's say k, is using that position 200. Now it's not part of your program. Then if you try to access that 200, then operating system generates a trap, otherwise segmentation fault. That's why you get segmentation fault, and operating system says that so you reached beyond your program. Okay, maybe you reached another program. That is not possible in good operating system environment, right? So that's why these three cases arises.